Hey guys, it's Tia. Welcome to the video. Hope you're doing well. So today's video, as you can see, is going to be for all the beginners, people who just have zero sales right now or are not getting the number of sales that they want. I'm going to be telling you the two fundamental reasons you're not making sales. I mean, there can be a whole host of reasons, but when it actually boils down to the fundamentals, there's only really two reasons that you're not making sales, and we'll be going through those today. A common question I get is along the lines of, oh, so-and-so, like this other person's doing the exact same thing as I am. We're like uploading the same kind of stuff. We have the same number of uploads, etc. Why are they making sales, but I'm not making sales? So I'll be coming up with all the reasons that I can for why other people are making sales, but you're not, even if you're in a similar situation. And then I'm going to be showing you basically a method of what you can actually do to increase your sales. That's going to be relying on these two fundamentals. Okay, so for the majority of people, if they do this, it will work. Right, so to start off, let's actually just think about what a customer does in order to click the purchase button, right? So firstly, you've got to see the listing, right? If you don't know that this product exists, you're not going to be able to buy it. And then secondly, after you see the listing, you need to decide to actually buy it. Okay, so you need to think, okay, this is worth spending my money on. So therefore, let's flip this around as a seller. Why are the two reasons that you are not going to be making sales? Well, it's because customers haven't gone through these two steps. So number one, you've got low traffic, so customers are not seeing your listing. And number two, you've got low conversion. So even if customers are seeing your listing, they think, okay, this is not worth spending my money on, so I'm not going to press the buy button. Okay, so these fundamentally are the only two reasons that you're not making sales, that customers aren't pressing the buy button for your listing. So that's the general broad principle, but let's put it into statistical perspective now. So if you're just trying to sell something, so-called in real life, like if you're in a store and you're trying to get people to come to your store, right, your conversion rate is probably going to be higher because you can actually talk to people and try and convince them to buy stuff. You can use all sorts of methods. So you might have, say, like a 4 or 5% conversion rate if you're just trying to sell something in a store. You have like a banner saying, come in, come buy something. You might have a higher conversion rate. But in e-commerce, there's so much competition and you can't really grab people and try and convince them to buy. Like, you have to set up your listing, you have to set up your store in a way such that when people come across it, they'll buy it. A good e-commerce conversion rate, according to Google, is around 1 to 2%, and I've found that's to be accurate for most of my stores. And as they say, even if you're doing everything right, you can still only expect to win the sale around 2% of the time. Okay, that's just because customers have so much choice when they're shopping online. Conversion rate is the number of conversions or number of times someone presses the buy button divided by your total number of visitors times 100. So that would come out as a percentage. And this is the issue for most new sellers. So when you hear people tell you in a business sort of context, don't give up too early, that kind of thing, what they're actually talking about don't have enough traffic in order to generate sales. Okay, so most people actually give up before they have enough traffic to get any sort of useful data for it. That's why people say keep going. It's not because you can't get sales fast. I mean, there are people with like one listing who have literally put no effort into it, uploaded one product, and they get a lot of sales. Not everybody has to, spend a very long time doing this, but the majority of people do, because statistically not everybody gets lucky, okay, and not everybody can get traffic immediately. So for most new sellers, I would say you just haven't been doing this long enough in order to get enough traffic to get any sort of useful data. Now, what's a realistic amount of traffic to expect? Well, as we see currently, a good e-commerce conversion rate is about 1 to 2%, so that's expecting about one sale every 100 visitors. I would say your first sale is a bit harder to get for a few reasons. So, website rankings and stuff. So at least 1,000 unique visitors is what you should be aiming for. Most people, when they comment and say, I haven't got any sales, they usually have less than 1,000 unique visitors, okay? Even if you were trying to sell like a bucket or something with no sort of unique value proposition or anything like that, if 1 million people saw that listing, you think it's not unrealistic that at least one person would buy that. Okay, so you can pretty much sell anything as long as you have enough traffic, but obviously that takes time, so you need to try and get traffic in a timely manner. What I suggest you do is track your page views, connect Google Analytics to your shop. There should be YouTube tutorials about Google Analytics, and then you can see how many visitors you're getting per day, per month. Once you get 1,000 unique visitors, I think that's the time when you can actually calculate some important metrics such as your conversion rate for your store, and then decide what to do based on that. Okay, the real issue is trying to get that traffic in a timely manner. So here's some ways that you can increase traffic and not have it take too long, basically. So firstly, you can improve your search engine optimization. That means knowing things like, putting your keywords at the beginning of the title and things like that. Just every website has its own sort of nuances when it comes to search engine optimization, but just understanding the platform and its SEO requirements. This can get you higher search ranking in the marketplace, or if you have your own store, then you're really aiming to rank on Google, right? Secondly, choosing low competition, high demand niches and keywords. This improves your search engine optimization and it improves the chance that you're going to be seen. So that's more traffic again. And there's a lot of various tools, free tools, paid tools in order to do this. I have other videos about specific platforms, but that's the general idea, right? And then you can also use free social media promotion, and we'll get onto that, and also paid advertising, so things like Facebook ads. And then there's more metrics that you would need to calculate for this in order to make sure that you're not just burning through money when you do paid advertising and not actually getting any sales. So you need to calculate your cost per click as well. So if you're doing PPC advertising, that is something that's important to calculate. And also your return on ad spend. Okay, so that's how much you're spending per customer. And if that's too high, then you really need to rethink whether paid advertising is the right course of action for your business. So let's talk about social media traffic. And when I say social media, I mainly mean free promotion. So creating an Instagram account, creating like Pinterest for your print on demand store or whatever e-commerce store you may have. So the reason why social media traffic has lower conversion is because people don't have the same buyer intent. Okay, so when they go onto a marketplace, they just want to look for stuff to buy, and they already know they're going to be spending their money on something usually, right? So on social media, people are just scrolling. They're not thinking about spending money. They're not thinking about buying anything. You really have to try and get them to buy, and that's why it's harder. So this is just an example, but if you get 1,000 visitors from, let's say, Instagram, then you might only make 5 sales. But if you improve your search engine optimization and you get 1,000 visitors from, say, like the marketplace, so if you're selling something on Amazon or Etsy, then these are visitors that have gone onto the marketplace in the first place and then found your listing from, searching or browsing, then you might get more sales, so like 20 sales. These visitors are, less valuable than the marketplace visitors. If you're going the social media route, then you're going to have to drive a lot more traffic in order to get the same amount of sales, right? But at the end of the day, more traffic is always better, because not all traffic has to result in a sale. So for example, if someone on Instagram or Facebook sees a shirt design that you made, they might not decide to buy it, but if they like it, then they might decide to share it around, and then somebody else that sees it might decide to buy it. So there's all sorts of other benefits from social media traffic and getting as much traffic to your listing as possible, not just sales, okay? They will all eventually result in sales, but you have to think about these other sort of benefits as well. Just getting your listing in front of as many people as possible is the way to go. So how can you efficiently increase traffic without posting, 200 times a day? Well, what you need to do is analyze your data. So you are going to have to put in some work at the beginning. You might have to post a lot. You might have to increase the number of listings you have. But then when the data comes in, don't just ignore it and keep doing what you're doing. Make sure you actually analyze what's going on with your store. So look for popular and trending keywords. Okay, so these keywords are getting you the most traffic, so use them more often. Make sure that you're taking up more of the market than other people. And also keywords that work for you are probably the best data, because as we'll see later on, there's a lot of reasons why something might be selling for other people, but it's not selling for you. So as a general rule of thumb, something that's sold for you before will sell for you again, but something that's selling for other people might not sell for you. I'll talk about that later. So now we're getting on to conversion. So conversion is something you should be thinking about at the beginning, but as a beginner, you probably won't be able to convert as many customers as somebody that's more experienced. It's just how it works, right? So ways to increase your conversion as you get more and more data. So firstly, try and make your product or your design as strong as you can to the best of your ability. Look at what your competitors are doing and then look at your listing and think, if I was a customer and I had to choose between this competitor and my own listing, which one would I buy? Okay, and if the answer is not your own listing, then make sure you try and improve it in some way. Obviously, you don't have to be the number one. You don't have to be the best listing on the market in order to make sales. Okay, you just have to be competitive. You just can't be below most people's listings. As long as you're above a certain quality threshold, you should be able to make good conversions, but we're just aiming to have the strongest design, the strongest, most competitive listing as possible, okay? and also repeat customers. So if you remember the formula for conversion, it's number of sales divided by number of visitors. And if you get more sales per visitor, then you're obviously increasing your conversion. So try and getting customers back to your store with special deals if your platform offers that, or if you run your own website, that's obviously easier. Sales, stuff like that. And this is getting into consumer psychology now, so seller hacks and stuff like that. I'm not too versed in those, but you can check them out. So things like sales strategies, pricing, description, so describing it in sort of an exciting way that gets people wanting to buy your listing, using certain colors. I mean, I've heard all sorts of random things like red makes people want to buy more, something like that. I don't know if it's actually true, but maybe read around this stuff and try it out in your stores, utilize it and see if there's a better outcome. Ease of checkout, so that's one thing. Like if you're building your own store, then make sure the customer doesn't have to go through like 5 different steps to check out, and also give your customer enough variation to make it seem like, you know, a little bit more personal. So for example, different color combinations, but don't give them so many combinations or personalization options that they get analysis paralysis and then they move on to a different product. Okay, so you've just got to get that balance right. That comes with experience as well. But ease of checkout, really what I'm talking about is how many steps the customer has to go through. So they go to the landing page and then there should be a buy button there. Okay, they shouldn't have anything in their way that could distract them and then make them forget about buying that thing in the first place. And also utilizing different times of the year. So Q4 is coming up soon, and that's a really important time to take advantage of to make more sales, because people just generally want to spend more money in Q4 because everyone else is spending money. There's holidays, all sorts of reasons. Okay, so a really cool thing about e-commerce is that you can actually look at other people's reviews very easily. So if you're just trying to sell a new product in the real world, you would have to actually get customers and feedback from your target market and then improve your product based on that. So you don't have as many things that you can go on, really. You have to do like surveys and things like that. But for e-commerce, you can literally just go on your competitors' products and have a look at their reviews and what other people are saying about that, and then just improve them. Okay, so you basically have customer feedback even before you've listed a product. It just makes it so much easier. And trying to make your listing unique. Okay, so you don't have to be the first person that comes up with something, but for design, for print on demand especially, and you know, any sort of graphic design, creativity related stuff, you can always think about different things to make your listing unique. As I said, it doesn't have to be the best product ever. It doesn't have to be the best design. It just has to be something that is better or is more unique than most people's out there. So that is what will help you. The threshold is what really matters. And just a word about paid advertising. So before you spend any sort of money on paid advertising, you want to make sure that the other things are optimized first, right? So if you haven't used free traffic to sort of validate your niches, then maybe try that first. I mean, it will give you confidence that your design will actually sell before you dump a bunch of money into this stuff. And also SEO, optimize your listing, optimize your images and descriptions. Try to be a little bit perfectionist about this before you actually start using paid ads, because you don't really want to be wasting a lot of money and energy on this. Okay, and for print on demand in general, I personally just don't think paid ads works that well, because all you're trying to sell is like t-shirts, coffee mugs, basic stuff like that. Paid ads works for stuff that converts really, really well. So things like drop shipping items or very unique products that people haven't seen before. They just look at it on social media and they're like, oh, I must buy this thing, right? A t-shirt design is probably not going to evoke those kind of emotions, if that makes sense. But yeah, if you're going to use paid ads, then make sure everything is optimized beforehand in order to maximize your conversions and your return on ad spend. So now we're getting on to comparisons. And do I think it's useful to compare your store to other people? It can be, but there's also a lot of other reasons why your store might not be making sales, even though you think, you know, your quality of listings or your number of listings, or you're doing the same thing as somebody else, but they're getting sales and you're not. So I came up with as many reasons as possible for why this could be the case. So say you have 100 listings, someone else has 100 listings, but you have no sales and they have 200 sales or more. Why could this be? So firstly, we've got traffic. So they could understand the search engine optimization and the e-commerce platform better than you. So they're doing something with their keywords. They're using more low competition, high demand keywords than you are. They're putting them in different positions than you are. There's all sorts of SEO nuances that you just have to learn about the platform. and maybe they understand that better than you. They also could have a large social media following that you don't know about. They could be somebody, for example, with a lot of Instagram followers or a massive YouTube channel. They just plug their merch and then a lot of random people just come to buy the merch, even if it's not that good, right? So they just have more traffic that way. Maybe they listed in a different time of the year to you, so they opened their store in Q4 and people tend to get more traffic anyway in Q4, or they caught a trend early and now the trend has died out and you're trying to make stuff for it, so that's why you're not making sales and they did. And obviously there's so many advantages to being early, so some e-commerce platforms, they don't really refresh their index, so if you make a lot of sales then you'll get bumped up. So with each sale it's easier to make the next sale because you get bumped up in the rankings, right? So that links into the next point, which says they uploaded many years ago or a very long time ago when the niche was less saturated, so they have less competition and they have a time advantage. Or they're just really good at using paid ads. They have a lot of experience in the Facebook ads, targeting certain people, and they know how to do that and you don't. Maybe they have more uploads in a certain niche. So let's say you both had 100 listings. They might have, say, like 50 listings in a particular niche, whereas you only have 5 listings in that niche, and they've taken up more of that market, so their designs for that niche are more likely to be found, whereas you've sort of spread yourself out more, which is good because there's less risk, okay? But at the end of the day, they're taking up more of the market than you are, so they're obviously going to get more sales. They might have some other random advantage. On places like Redbubble, you've got featured artists. On Etsy now you have star seller. Well, I don't actually think that matters that much, but still, you guys know what I'm talking about. So just all these seller awards and featured sellers being promoted in some certain marketplaces, newsletter or something like that. So that's why they have the traffic advantage. And maybe they just got lucky a few times. For example, someone famous shared their listing on Facebook and now a bunch of people are seeing it and they're buying it. Do they do anything special in particular that you didn't do? Not necessarily, but they just got lucky. And if you get lucky with a few designs a few times, then you can really be stacking up those sales and that traffic, because that will bump your ranking up so much more than somebody else who has never got lucky with that listing and they have no sales. Some reasons people's listings might be converting more than yours: they might know what sells from doing previous testing. So as I said, what sells for you will probably sell for you again because you have all these things a bit more consistent. Okay, so if you're good at ads, then you're consistent with your ads. If you're not, then you're just not, right? They know what sells for them and they just keep uploading in that, they just keep saturating the market in that, and then now they're monopolizing that market. So let's say somebody's opened up a Redbubble store, they've just got a random account with like over 1,000 uploads, they identify some niches that are selling for them, and they open a new store with only 50 or 100 listings. But why is that new store selling so well? Because they've already uploaded things 1,000 times. They know what sells. Okay, so they had to do a lot of testing in order to get there. Now they've already got these niches that they're selling well in, so they can just replicate that on a different store. Whereas you haven't done all that testing yet. Okay, so you can't expect your first 100 listings to sell as well as somebody else's first 100 listings if they know that's already going to sell, because you don't know. They might have some special skills that you don't have. They're a professional artist or professional graphic designer. Everybody's abilities and capabilities are different. You just have to play to your strengths and see what you're good at. If you're not very good at graphic design, then obviously don't stop trying to improve, but you can also focus on other things like your SEO and your marketing. Okay, maybe they own some kind of popular trademark, then you can obviously design stuff, merch for that, and that goes with the social media following as well. So things that are trademarked and people recognize obviously sell better. So most people won't be in this position, but if you are fortunate enough to own a popular trademark, then you can obviously dominate that market. Maybe they just understand consumer psychology, okay, so they know some secret tricks or hacks to getting people to click the buy button. This all comes with general experience. So if you've watched up until now, you'll know that there's so many things that you can do, okay, that I've just gone through, but at the end of the day, it's just statistics. And this is what I would suggest you do if you're opening up a store for the first time. So it's going to take time and you need to get your traffic and conversion. So what I would suggest you do first is do a bit of research on a few low competition and high demand niches and keywords. So list them down and then make some designs for them. In my experience for print on demand platforms, about 100 listings is a reasonable number to expect to get sales, maybe 200, but more or less is okay. It just depends on how much time you have. Upload them to the best of your ability in these low competition, high demand niches. Just everything you know about trying to get sales, implement that into these listings. Obviously, if you're a beginner, you won't know everything about how to optimize every single thing, right? I don't know that. Nobody really knows that, but just do it to the best of your ability and include all these low competition, high demand niches. Optimize your SEO for your platform, learn as much about your platform as possible. Just do that for 100 listings or however many you think is appropriate. Then you want to keep track of your visitors. So that's installing Google Analytics or looking at your dashboard, however you can, in order to monitor the amount of traffic you're getting. If you haven't reached 1,000 visitors, which I bet is most of you beginners that are asking these questions, then just keep uploading, right? If you think social media promotion is necessary, then do that. But at the end of the day, you just need to keep uploading until you get enough visitors. I think 1,000 personally is good. That is a reasonable amount of visitors to get before you get a sale. So then you can calculate your conversion rate. So if your conversion rate is lower than 1%, if you unfortunately get less than 10 sales after you've reached 1,000 visitors, then look at your competitors, look at their reviews, look at their prices. Is there anything in particular that they're doing that you're not doing? Is there anything in particular that could turn your customer away from your listing? And often this might not be because your design or your listing is bad, okay? It might just be something really simple. For example, if you're selling to a US market primarily, but your price is listed in pounds, that is a really simple thing that could be killing your conversion rate. Take note of these little details. Try everything you can to improve your listings, maybe decrease your price. So low demand warrants a low price as well. When you get more conversion and more sales, you can increase your prices, okay? So these are all things you can do to improve your conversion. But obviously, as I said, you have to get to the 1,000 visitors first, and that takes time, okay? Otherwise, you don't have enough data to work with. If your conversion rate is about 1 to 3%, then you're doing well, pretty average, keep it up. So do the same things as I just talked about, maybe trying out a few things and seeing if they work for you. And then if you have a pretty good conversion rate, which I would say is more than 3%, then keep it up. But there's also a lot more other things you can do, which I think would be beneficial. So obviously keep it up and upload more, but then consider using paid ads in order to scale your business, because you have proof now that even using free traffic sources and your listing just being there, people want to buy it. So obviously there's something special about it that increases its conversion rate. So if you use paid ads, then you can have a pretty good bet that you're going to be spending your money well and people are actually going to be buying it, okay? So don't be scared to use paid ads to scale your business, only if your conversion rate is decent. And also something else you can do is consider moving from a marketplace to your own store, okay? Because obviously you know that your listings are converting, people are wanting to buy them, so what's the difference between them seeing it on your own store and on the marketplace? Well, your own marketplace has a less risk because you can collect your own email list, you can collect a loyal fan base of customers, whereas if you're using somebody else's marketplace, then your profit margins are probably going to be lower, and also you don't have that more dedicated fan base of customers as you would if you had your own store. So that is something to consider if your conversion is very good. Okay, so hopefully this video made sense. Hopefully for beginners or people who aren't making the sales that they want, this just sort of clears it up in your mind for you. It's all statistics really. Like even if you are making sales but you just want to make more sales, then you still follow the same procedure, okay? So it doesn't have to be exactly this, but it's all about getting more traffic and then calculating the data from that and then seeing what you can do to increase conversion, okay? Hopefully that video helped. Give it a like if you found it useful and you learned something new. Subscribe and turn on the notifications bell if you want to see more of my content. TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter down in the description, and I will see you in the next video.